So hi everyone out there. We have a series of people who are talking to us at the minute who we try to organise who are literally at the top of their game. We try and give some really good content to people who might need a little bit of information at the minute or trying to do something with all the time they've got. So I've got one of our guys from our community here who is a friend of mine, a good friend of mine now, David Coldwell. He has been working in the boxing game for God knows how long. We've just, especially with names, we've just been talking about it off screen, everything from Kell Brooke, Tony Bellew, Jamie McDonald, all the way through to, God, well, you can go for it, mate. You've just been reeling them off, David Price and the rest. So you've trained 2 world champions, you are a pundit on Sky, and you're still managing 12 fighters at the minute, and you've just promote, and you've seen every aspect of this over the last 30 years. Which makes me feel good because you always think I'm older than you are. So
you definitely look older than me. You definitely look older than me.
Maybe this is the point now where we have to do video evidence of my birth certificate. I feel like it's been like an Obama thing for the last 2-3 years. He's even got all his family going, you are not 30 years old. We're under 30. It's great. It's this bald patch which keeps growing at the minute. He just keeps getting me down there. That's all that's happening. So
it's nothing to do with bald patches, mate. I've got a big old bald patch all over. Don't worry about that.
God, I'm going to look like, if I end up going bald as you are right now during this period, it's going to look like Tyson, isn't it? With just a beard and that's it. Christ alive. So, how is everyone doing? What's going on with everyone at your end at the minute? How's everyone feeling?
So, do you know what? Excuse me. We're fine. We're fine. We're frustrated in the fact that we want to get back to normal life like everybody else does. I'm finding it real frustrating because there's so many things that I'm used to working and being busy every day of my life. I mean, you know me, you know what I'm like. I'm 100 miles an hour here, there, and everywhere. And I'm struggling not being in the gym, working with my fighters. We're working via FaceTime. So I've got somebody holding the camera while they're doing things I'm telling them what to do. It's not quite the same. But we're healthy. And we're keeping occupied. I'm making sure that my kids are being occupied. I've got a daughter at 15 and Theo, is at 8. Used to be an active. Theo's footballing every day. He's 5 days a week he plays football. He's socialising with his friends, playing football and things like that. My daughter, she's got a great, fantastic social life. She's never in the house. She's got a good group of friends that they're always out. They're always together. Obviously, the school. So I was worried about her more than anybody else, to be honest, because for her to all of a sudden have to be stuck in a house where she's never, what 15-year-old girls are like. A house is basically a hotel. You come in, you eat and you sleep, and the rest of the time you're out. Or all her friends are over here. So for that to be stripped away from her was a little bit of a worry for me. But you know what? She's been absolutely brilliant. She's into music. She produces and writes and things like that with different genres of music, and she's just thrown herself into that. And so she's been working very productively during the lockdown. Theo, I've been carrying on training. My idea was right from day one to set a routine for the kids and set a routine for myself, because the quicker that you accept that this is the new normal, the quicker you can deal with it, because then you can put things into place that becomes your lifestyle now. So forget about your old lifestyle. The more you dwell on that, the more mentally it's going to be challenging for you to handle what's going on right now. You've got to, you can't keep thinking, oh, I can't wait to get back to normal life. You've got to think about and focus about what's in front of you right now and try and be productive. So I've kind of set that out. As soon as we get up in the morning, doing a little session with Theo, so we're active straight away. You spark the brain up, you spark your body up. Otherwise, it's so easy to come downstairs from being in bed, come downstairs, plonk yourself on sofa, stick your TV on, and then you don't move again for another 2 or 3 hours, and then you're in that lethargic sort of attitude and mentality, where then the day just stays in that lethargic state. Whereas, I'm not saying it's right. The only way that I look at it is if I get up straight away and we do something straight away, something physical to get the blood pumping, get your mind sparked, then you can carry on from there. And then even if you didn't do anything else physical for the rest of the day, you've done something. Do you know what I mean?
All the research shows that doing physical activity before doing anything that requires any brain capacity, even if we're in full work schedule, literally gives more clarity, more focus, better heart regulation. It's huge. So what's really interesting, the guys listening to these are going to be really getting bored of me saying it, but every person that we've interviewed, I think third or fourth one now at like this top level, straight away you've gone straight to routine. Like having routine, following purpose is just like every one of them's got that focus on that goal. It's incredible to listen to. How do you, because obviously say if you take a fighter and the fighter comes to see you and it's a different background and everything, how do you help install those routines if somebody's lost, or how do you start?
The way that I've always done it is it's just explaining, and by talking, you have to. It's educating basically. I mean, again, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying my way is the right way. But the way that I believe is that if you educate people and if you give them a bit of knowledge and give them a way of reasoning and an explanation where they can take it on board, and then it actually works for them. They understand that this, when they try it, they feel a benefit, they feel a difference. Then they're more willing to stick with it and make it as part of routine. If you just tell somebody, so as a way that I coach fighters when they're in the gym, if I want you to throw a certain shot a certain way, and if I just say, go out there, throw this, do that, do this, do that, there you go, and tell you to just go and do it, and just tell you to do it, you're going to do it while you're fresh. And then you're going to get a bit bored because you're doing the same thing over and over again, but you don't know why you're doing it. So you're kind of doing it. You just think to yourself, that's good enough. That's all right. But if I explain to you what happens if you do it wrong, if you don't bring your hand back, you're going to get caught with your right hand over the top. You're going to get this. You're going to do that. You're going to do this. Then you're going to think, right, okay, that's why I'm doing it. And because if I don't do it right, that is the consequence of that. I want to do it right. So I want to do it. So I don't have to be pushed to do it all the time. So it's the same thing with this, with the lockdown, with installing a certain routine. If you say to a kid, or if you say to a fighter, if you
both nearly the same,
yeah, both nearly the same, yeah. So if you say to him, just fit in a session, try and keep on top of things, don't let your weight go, and you just kind of general with what you're saying and nothing specific, then there's no program in the mind for them to think, right, when I get up, I've got to do this. When I get up, I've got to. So they can get up at 1 p.m. When you come like this and you think, oh, I've got no gym to go to, I've got no work to go to. It's quite easy to think, well, I'll have a lay-in. I'll get up at first. It starts at, I'll get up at 10, or I'll get up at 11. Then it goes a little bit later, and before you know it, you get people that are staying in bed until 1 p.m. And I know that, and I'm not talking about fighters, but I'm talking about people. That's what they do, because everyone likes to lay in, and if they can't be bothered, if they've got nothing to get up for, they're just going to stay in bed, and they might not be asleep, they might just stay in bed and just can't bother to get out, and that's where you get into that rut.
So it's finding a person's why then to give them ownership of
yeah. So if I say to the guys, right, okay, so we'll train it. We'll do a session at 10 o'clock. Start warming up at 9:30. 10. So they've got to get up a lot earlier than that because they want to fuel the body and things like that for the session. So they're still in a bit of a routine there, and they're up for it. They're mentally charged. They're mentally focused on what they've got to do. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, just listening to it, I'm just thinking in my head. There's going to be a massive split, I reckon, in any sports performance game at the minute. I reckon there's going to be those that they're just going to come out the back of this and literally crash and burn or drop out or whatever.
Yeah.
I actually think there's going to be there's going to be the other split, which are people who come back a lot stronger. They're going to have time. They're going to really work on themselves and probably, be stronger and better and top of the game compared to other people. It's interesting to see, or it's interesting to see what's going to happen with this.
It's how you attack it. That's exactly how it is. It's how, for me, is the situation is a horrible, awful, dreadful situation. It's a situation that nobody wants to be in. Nobody wants to be locked into their house. Nobody wants to be restricted on the movements and what they can and can't do. Nobody wants to do that. But if you go on the defensive with it, then that's when you have the problems, when you fall into a rut, when you can't be bothered because, oh, I can't do this, I can't. Oh, what's the point in getting dressed up? Nobody's going to see me anyway. So you just let yourself go. Do you know what I mean? That isn't a point of vanity. I'm saying, oh, you should keep yourself presentable at all times when you're sat in a house. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about beauty. I'm not talking anything about that. I'm talking about not becoming slob mentality.
You can't work or help other people or help yourself unless you've helped yourself first or looked after yourself in the first place.
Yeah. So if you don't want to do your hair and have a shave or whatever because you just don't want it, fair enough. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is if you're not doing it because you can't be bothered, you're not. It's not about impressing other people, right? It's yourself. If you feel fresh, I feel fresh when I've had a shave. If I leave my head, sounds silly.
I know. I'm just laughing that you did this and not this.
Yeah. if I leave this like 3 days, then and it's that fuzzy fur ball, I feel old. I feel scruffy. I feel old. The minute I have a shave and I've shaved all my head and I've freshened up, I just feel better about myself. It's not about going out and impressing me. I'm 44 years old. I've got a wife. I've got kids. I've got nobody to impress apart from me being in my own house. But I feel better about myself, and it keeps me sharper. And I think that by falling into that sloth mentality, it's very, very dangerous. But it's very, very easy right now. So you need to have those little focus points that just pick you up a little bit. You need to be able to recognize when you are having that dip, because everybody has a dip. Listen, I had a dip for a day about 10 days ago, I think it was, and I just had a day where I felt down. I just felt a bit crappy because I'm cooped up, because I want to do this, or because I want to do that. And then I see on the news, or I see people that are dying in the hospital beds, and the one thing for me is, my big thing is boredom. So I'm feeling bored, and I'm sat here bored, and then I'm seeing people on just waiting in an hospital ward and things like that, and I'm thinking, do you know what? Even if I got it and if I wasn't horrendous, but if I had to go into hospital and I'm just sat there on an hospital, I would be so bored. That would really, really do me, because I've been there. That's my thing. I hate being in hospital because you can't do anything. You just lay in one spot. I can't lay in one spot. So I would be even worse there. Forget about like if I got it bad, I would be even worse positioned there than what I am now. So what am I bored about? There's people that I know that are suffering really, really bad. So what am I moaning about? What am I bored about? It's natural to have a little dip. It's natural to have a little bit.
But it's trying to find that positive reaction behind it to bring it back. Obviously, a lot of people, when they're going down, and they might slip into these like mentality states or whatever it is, often can be a shutdown response to stress. Now, you are used to working with people at literally what I think must be the highest level of stress. I mean, I can't imagine anything worse than walking out in front of 80,000 people into a ring to fight.
The pressure that's, do you know what?
Like,
it's not even
blows my mind.
Yeah, it's not even just fight night. The pressure that we have, you know, all the way through is quite something special. But
how do you even train or prepare someone for that mental pressure and stress? Because there might be something in there that people can start putting strategies together for just the stress environment they're in now.
But a big thing for me is, if you can't control it, and if it's not in your hands, don't stress about it. You can't stress about it, because stressing about a problem, or worrying about a problem, isn't going to make the problem go away. So I used to, before I got, you know, quite successful and started having bigger money fights, which is only in the last couple of years. You know what I mean? I'm 44. Up to being 40 years old, I was skinned. No, 30. Yes, about 39, I was skinned. But so when I used to get letters coming through, or you're in your overdraft, you get messages, you're in your overdraft, things like that, it used to stress me out when I was younger. And there were a phase when I was probably about in my late 20s, late 20s, before I had Brooke. I used to be one of these guys that used to stick their head in the sand, and just I couldn't deal with stress and pressures and things like that. And I would literally, post comes through, letters comes through, bills come through, and because I didn't have the money to pay, I'm living in an overdraft. I'm living in 2 overdrafts at that point. I just not even look to put them away, and I just let them build up. If I got a parking fine or something like that, I just put it in glove compartment. I'll be one of those kind of people, try and ignore the problems that are there. But then over a period of time, you understand and you realise that by hiding from your problems and by just stressing about it, just exploding, so to a point where you don't want to deal with it and just run away from it, it doesn't make the problem go away. You know, you have to recognise it, acknowledge it, look at it head on, and then put into a place, how are you going to deal with it? How are you going to tackle that problem? So, if it's financial like that, first port of call is, well, I can't pick up the phone and have a conversation and explain to them, because at the end of the day, if you're owing some money on bills or whatever like that, they want the money. So at least if you can pick up the call and pick up the phone and you make a conversation there's some sort of dialogue that's going to be where they're going to look to try and get at least part payments. Do you understand?
Yeah,
so I'd go through that. I just started changing mentality for that and start having that conversation. I think dialect and conversation is a massive thing, whether it's money, whether it's relationships. It's like when people fall out over something petty and they don't speak for 3 or 4 days with the wives or the girlfriends or whatever. They don't speak for it. You're creating a negative atmosphere when if you just park your ego to one side and then just have a conversation, then 9 times out of 10 it's gonna solve itself, and you're saving yourself 3 or 4 days of negative energy just enveloping your head.
So I think the biggest thing that you've said there that's resonated with me is the fact that you either look at something and either be affected by it or affect it. So you either become the affect or the effect. And like either do something about it, tackle it, talk about it, do something, or just you're going to get swept up and move around. Yeah. So it's cause or effect with this. So how do you, like with the fighters then, when you're stood there and music comes on, the lights come on, where are they sat at that point then? How do they frame that into? So
all fighters, doesn't matter what they say, it doesn't matter how confident they seem, on TV or what BS they tell you in interviews, right? All fighters go through points and stages throughout camp and on fight night where the little demons start coming and the little voices start coming into the head, where you have this the negative energy trying to creep into your brain. So you might be in training, you might have a bad spar, you might just not feel great, you might feel tired. You spar on a Friday, might not be as good as a spar on the Monday or Tuesday, and you start thinking, but it's my job there to recognise, just from your body language, you might not want to say anything, from your body language, just the look that I see in your eyes. Might be a case where I'm just explaining, before you even tell me how you're feeling, as I explain to you, remember, great spar, you done well there, blah, blah, but this wasn't as good, that wasn't as good. But don't forget, you did a weight session yesterday, or you had your sprint session last night, which is your legs are a bit heavy, so therefore your movement's not as great. And then they're like, right, yeah. And then they might say, do you know what? I did feel down. I didn't feel as though I was as sharp. That's the reason why. You were great on Monday because you were fresh. Great on Tuesday because you were fresh. When it gets to Thursday, Friday, it becomes very, very hard for them to keep that same level of sharpness and not just physically, but mentally, because, the dieting, you've got to understand that as well as the physical side of things, you're dieting. So you're not having you're not running on a full tank. You're going on fumes sometimes. So therefore, you're not going to perform as great. On fight night, you'll have had a few days, on fight week, it's a tapering down sort of week where you're not doing that much, just ticking over. So your body's starting to recover. After the weigh-in, you're starting to refuel yourself properly. Then you've got a good, 30 hours rest. you're going to feel fresh. You're going to feel great. You're not going to feel like you are doing now. Like now, you feel tired. You feel lethargic. You don't feel great. But on fight night, that's going to be completely different. And then they walk out thinking, you're right. And because I'm only confirming what you know, but the negative side starts coming into you, where you forget that that's the reasoning. You forget about the reasoning. You have to be able to break things down and explain to fighters. And like I said, educate them. You can't just say, don't worry about it, you're going to be great on fight night. That's not going to help anybody. You can't just say, oh, just put it down to experience, or you had a bad day today. Put it down to experience, it's all right, it's nothing. You have to explain the reasons why that might have been a bad day today. But then you also have to explain how it's going to be different on fight night, how you're actually going to feel on fight night. Now, when we're walking out to the ring, or when they're in the changing rooms, until you get on that flow on the pads, you start getting these butterflies. You know, you're a bit nervous. Everybody is. But once you start flowing on the pads, you start getting that bit of confidence. Then you start feeling great, and then they're ready to go. Then the knock comes on and say, "Come on, ring walk." Then when you walk into the ring, that's where it's very important to keep your mentality intact, because that's where many fights can be lost. I've had a fighter who would be great, and then on the ring walk would fall to pieces, and then you would see it. And if he didn't get off to a fantastic start, then you would see them go. Myself, when I was fighting, I would generally lose it on the ring walk, and demons would just swarm into my head and just take over. And this is where you have to talk to him, but it's not over talking to him, so you fill in the head. You have to allow a fighter to have his own thoughts while he's shadowboxing behind the curtain before he walks out. But then you're just saying little things. You're just reminding them about the capabilities and just how good they are.
It's really interesting because everything you're saying is probably comparable to the state that we're in now, as in like we're all having these little demons of negativity coming in, and that could be social media, it could be news, it could be all these sort of things, but it's going back and looking back and going, no, this is the reason why, or trying to find that internal dialogue, which is basically you are for the fighter going through. And obviously, as that stress then builds going towards a ring walk, it's exactly the same as we go deeper into this.
Yeah,
we're all going to get that same reaction. So it's really cool and trying to put it into tools for us now, isn't it? It's really, really interesting. What's your highlight been then so far? Not of COVID. What's your highlight been of boxing? What's the biggest one?
I've got to say Goodison Park. Tony Bellew winning the world title, WBC world title in a football stadium. That was just unbelievable. The whole experience of it was just immense. From when we're in the dressing room and having to deal with Tony's emotions, where he'd been about 7 o'clock when he arrived. He just popped outside to have a look at the venue as it's people are just starting to come in, and then he's heard his son's voice. His kids never come to his fights, and because it was the world title fight, he allowed his eldest boy to come to the show, and he heard his voice, and he came to the change rooms. He broke down. He was crying. I don't think what's going on here. What I've never seen Bellew cry. Mixture of emotions and everything like that. But in all the time that I'd worked with him, I'd never seen him actually cry. And that was just before you in a couple of hours, in about an hour and a half, you're going out to fight for a world title fight when he's an underdog against a big puncher in a football stadium. His boyhood football stadium team that he supported, ever since he was a little kid, and he's literally he's bent over, and I've put my hand on his back. You all right, mate? All right. And then when I've looked at the floor, I can see teardrops on the floor, and I thought, oh my God. And then myself and Gary, who's his close friend, we just cleared the changing room out, and we just talked to him. And then when it comes to the time to start warming up later on, about 25 minutes before the ring walk, when we started on the pads, the first 2 rounds on the pads, it wasn't very sharp. At this point, we've got people back in the changing rooms again, and then I just kicked everybody out. Right, everybody gone, that's it. I need to, and gave him a talk, gave him a real talk, and then he flicked a switch. And then I remember just before the ring walk, when there's no more fights on now, and the crowd are just waiting for the MC to start talking to introduce the fighters. We had the music on, but you could hear the vibration in the ceiling of the change rooms. And Tony just said to me, turn stereo off. Turn stereo off. We turned stereo off. All you could hear was the whole of the bank of that stand just chanting his name. And it was just unreal. I can't describe it. It was crazy. It really was. And then when we walked out to the ring, I'd said to him, because you have to stay focused. You can't. It's very hard for a fighter because you have this atmosphere and the fans and everything like that, but you can't focus on that. You have to kind of like stay tunnel vision as much as you can and just focus on your job at hand and forget about the crowd. And I said to him, I said, listen, I says, ignore that crowd. When you walk to the ring, I says, just ignore the crowd. Keep your mind on your job. Don't waste your energy on the crowd. And then when we walked out, and I see all this football stand bouncing, literally bouncing, chanting his name, singing. And I just thought, oh shit, got no chance of this. And I remember when he walked up, when he starts walking, he just went, so's Dave, and he just stopped like that. He just looked at the crowd. And but you know, when we got in the ring, obviously you've got to let him enjoy it. And when he got in the ring, that's when I went to take his dressing gown off. And that's when I said to him, right, I says, flick a switch now. I said, do not fight for this lot. I said, you got to fight for yourself. And yeah, we got the job done.
Love it. Do it for yourself, not for everybody else. Nice. Amazing. Well, I am very conscious of your time. It's been amazing. Thank you ever so much for coming on.
It's not like I've got a lot to do, mate. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, you know, I'm just thinking about poor old Theo. He's got like all these people that you usually coach, all this energy just focused on one 8-year-old. Like, you will kick that ball into the bin, and we're going to do it. We're doing a lot of stuff. I'm just doing very, like this morning. We're going to do a little pad session. And do some pads. So we're going to do a bit of pad stuff. It does some different strength and conditioning sort of sessions. Obviously, it's football sessions. But we just have a lot of fun with it. We just have a mess about. It's like when we're doing pads, he'll have a pop at me. I'll let him beat me on FIFA. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just having fun. I'm trying to get him to make sure he watches his cartoons and just busy. You know, I've always said
all the years I've known you, you have never let your son win on FIFA, even when he was like 5.
No, but do you know the problem is I'm struggling to beat him now. I might beat him 2 out of 10. Like, might beat him 2 out of 10. It's bad. It's hard. Even when I'm like if I'm 3-0 up or something like that, and there's like 5 minutes to go, and he'll still end up beating me. I don't understand how he keeps doing it. It's doing me head in.
All this time, isn't it? That's it. Well, thank you very much. If anyone wants to, Dave's very active on social media. He's been trying to drill me to do it for the last years, but still struggling one way or another. We still haven't got the name sorted out yet. But thank you very much, Dave, and keep safe. See you soon, mate. Bye.
Nice one. Take care, mate. Cheers.